You plugged their car back in, eh?
Yes.
What do you want?
Charge?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about it. It was just, it fell awkwardly.
Mom's probably gonna want to hear the fella. So you might want to move it back in. No. You can just push the center button and it goes boom.
Oh,
Right
okay.
in the middle.
Thank you. Whoa. Okay, so where's it? Resume.
The route guidance will start now.
Marchkin's being really crabby. Hey, sweet Roddy. Oh, can we get out from here? No, what the fuck? What was I doing? I thought we were... Oh, son of a bitch. I forgot that we came in from the back.
No, I'm fine for now, Mom. Thank you.
You want one of those? Give me a minute. Sure.
Would that be what, Mom?
No, she's got some Cheerios right now.
Oh, okay.
I think there's only a one-way turn.
In 300 meters, turn left onto Main Street and then take the third exit at the traffic circle.
Now she said third exit, Rod.
Route recalculating.
Oh, yeah. Just give me a minute. I'm driving right now, yeah. I'm going to yeah.
Take the third exit and then turn right.
What road does it say? Third exit, so it would be where that trucker was, right? Yeah.
Take the exit. Turn right onto Trans-Canada Highway.
Wow, oh, we're going on Trans-Canada Highway now. We're on Highway 56 for a long time.
Continue on current road for more than 50 kilometers.
There you go.
Thank you. Oh, I just got my tags. So, finished.
Oh, small house.
27.
Yeah. Oh.
Test.
Test everything.
Huh? Can you see my phone for a second, Mom?
Put that on the charger, please, Mom. Should hear the man start talking right away.
Hey.
You said we should hear the man talking right away.
Okay. the tour fella.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The navigation tour fella. Yeah. What would be the proper word for it, Rod?
Tour guide.
Tour guide. Tour guide.
I picked up some grapes and I was eating them while I was walking around, and then I thought, you know what? And I decided to do one of these.
Fight
They
the
were
system.
sour. They were sour anyway. I mean, they
Uh,
were seedless. Wanted seedless, so.
Fight the system. Nana's fighting the system too.
oh my gosh. Eat them. I think I did. Do not pass snow plows on rights. Is this a? Oh yeah, it is too. Oh gosh. Are we going slow? I don't know. Oh, construction. That's great. Fuck.
Now give me my phone, please. I don't know what's going on here. There should be tour guide stuff. Mom, give me my phone, please.
Oh my gosh. I was hoping to pass these guys, but no. Single lane traffic.
70 miles an hour. It's,
Yeah, I am going 70. Construction zone.
yeah. For how long? Did it tell you?
Nope, I didn't see that. No.
Got something great to look at anyway.
Yeah. Dan Ross.
From Ontario. Did Abby ever run around?
Yeah,
That's good.
she did.
I wanted to sit down and then I couldn't sit down because I was walking, and then when I got to where I was supposed to be, I thought, oh my god. I was in that shop, in and out. Then I went to the supermarket. I thought, well, maybe we'll have a
Stole a
snack.
bunch of grapes.
No, and then I thought we'd have a snack because it was like a cafeteria type place in the they had chickens and stuff, and I thought, if I buy a chicken, and then I said, no, I won't buy a chicken until I see them. I thought, oh, I'm tired, I'm going back to the library, and then there was a bunch of people standing outside, so I thought the library was closed for lunch. And then I thought, I'll try the door, and that was when you came. "10 minutes in the country is like 25 minutes walking."
Those trailers from Ontario. Yeah.
Yeah.
I literally thought that was a guy sticking its head on his side, but he had a helmet on top of the pile of bags he had on the back of his bike. That's weird.
As we drive along here, the Eagle River has been winding its way along, sometimes close to the highway. Though the land is now farmed, this looks like it would have been ideal beaver habitat.
I don't like it.
Beavers have long been one of the iconic symbols of
Put that on the
Canada,
charger now,
though
please,
sadly their numbers are nothing like what they once were. The nation can almost thank its very existence on the early economy and trade of beaver pelts, though today most will find the idea of beaver trapping quite repulsive. These amazing creatures have plush fur, flat tails,
You hear a
and
bit
are
better?
second only to humans in their ability to change the landscape. An adult beaver can grow as big as 20 kilograms and can even take down trees many hundreds of times his size by gnawing at the trunk with his very sharp teeth. The tree is then floated downriver to the beaver's dam. The dam is also home for these practical jokers. When the rivers or lake freezes, a family of beavers can live in the warmth of the dam and are able to access food stored and preserved in the chilly waters under the ice. First Nations people called the beaver the sacred center of the land because it creates rich habitat for other mammals, fish, turtles, frogs, birds, and ducks. Since beavers prefer to dam streams and shallow valleys, much of the flooded area becomes wetlands. Such wetlands are hotbeds of life with biodiversity that can rival tropical rainforests. Almost half the endangered and threatened species in North America rely upon healthy wetlands. Besides being a keystone species, beavers reliably and economically maintain wetlands that can sponge up floodwaters, prevent erosion, raise the water table, and act as the Earth's kidneys to purify water. This purification occurs through the several feet of silt that collects upstream of older beaver dams. Toxins such as pesticides are broken down in the wetlands that beavers create. Thanks to this process, water downstream of the dam is cleaner and requires less treatment. The beaver isn't just a little cutie pie. It's a major contributor to the health of the environment.
Where's the cable rod?
It's way in the back.
Don't worry about it. Reason why you chose to go this way, Rod?
I don't know what you mean, Mom.
This way home.
This is the most efficient way home.
Okay.
But it is also supposed to be very beautiful.
Okay.
And also there's a tour guide.
Okay.
We're getting close to Yard Creek Provincial Park. It's not a place that we need to go visit on this trip, but if you want to know, it's an important area for the preservation of habitat for fish and bird life. It was created in 1956 and covers 60 hectares of beautiful forested upland. With all the lumber mills alongside the Trans-Canada Highway, let me tell you about something that somehow seems friendlier than simply cutting up trees into 2x4s. I thought I should tell you a little bit about log houses. Building log homes is quite a bit different to building normal homes. At log home building facilities, which are usually fairly close to regular mills, they will completely build the home to the specifications of the designer or architect. One of the most challenging things about building log homes is that the logs aren't uniform, like bricks or studs and siding. So what the company does is construct the entire log building at their own facility by matching up the best logs and creating the tight joints and straight walls. But much of the character of the log home is that each piece is not the same, and the manufacturer strives to preserve that aesthetic quality. Every log and piece is then numbered, and the whole thing is then dismantled. Everything is then trucked to the actual home site, and a little like a kit home, each piece is put back together. It's just like building the home twice. Once to make sure it all goes together properly, and then a second time to rebuild it at the location and prepare it for occupancy. The machines that cut the joints are incredibly complex and accurate. guided by computer and laser to ensure that everything fits perfectly. As for the materials used, the wood has to be the best quality and dried for months before use to avoid excessive cracking and warping. Although they might appear simple and rustic, log homes are not a cheap business.
A full water bottle in the snack bag, Rod, right behind me.
Here's a great look at a beehive burger.
He wants to slurp.
You can't miss seeing the rustic, inverted, cone-shaped structures where the waste material for sawmills is dumped and burned. This one has been converted into a restaurant and lounge.
It's tiny, so that's going to make it worse if I do anything with it, Rod.
I promise you've never seen anything like it before. Burning lumberyard waste is environmentally quite dirty, so more and more, the lumber industry is trying to salvage their waste material using smaller and smaller pieces to join and make longer useful pieces, or finding other uses for waste pieces, like chipping the waste for particle and plywood pieces.
Yeah, my hair's getting too long.
Your hair goes fast. Rather than just burning everything. Most beehives are no longer in use, but you'll still see these structures from time to time.
That's when I cut my own hair too.
I know you do. Yeah, I think you're very brave.
I only did it that one time.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to go get your hair done.
Oh, for sure.
You know, you're worth that. You're working, and you know that's a nice little treat for you to sit for an hour, get your hair done. Are you eating her goldfish, Daddy?
It's an historic site that marks one of the most important aspects of Canadian history.
Yes, he is.
It's a place we should stop and visit because it represents a defining moment in Canada. It's a little strange because it represents the end of a story. A story I
put them on her belly.
The story
and you know, just where the button is, and I've got about 5 or 6 on her belly, and she just kind of reaches down and gets them like that. Or I put them on that red Tupperware lid that I take the Cheerios out of. Oh, it was hilarious. And she doesn't have to keep going like that, then she can just, it's hard for her to kind of go like that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Make it easy for her.
Who's driving in the last spike. The man was Donald Smith, Lord Strathcona, a director of the CPR, the Canadian Pacific Railway.
That's why I didn't want
Smith was a character. When he arrived in Canada as a young man from Scotland, he was well educated.
Cheerios,
big bucks.
Fresh off the boat,
big bucks now.
As a clerk for the Hudson's Bay Company. It paid £20 per year. But that was only Smith's first stop on his way to the top. When he died, his estate was valued at £4.5 million. Donald Smith was a mover and a shaker during the period of Canada's evolution from a backwater wilderness to one of the most prosperous countries in the British Empire.
This must be the gold mine place.
When he first came to Canada by sailing ship in 1838, the voyage took more than a month. Before the end of his life, he frequently made the same journey in a week and traveled as the director of the company that owned the liner on which he sailed. Smith was said to have a cast iron constitution. He would eat nothing between breakfast and dinner every day and never got sick. Smith drove the last spike on a dreary November day in 1885. Craigalanchi was named for a prominent crag in Morayshire, Scotland, home of Smith's ancestors.
There's like deer and moose signs all the time, Rodney.
Here's the turnoff to the Last Spike Historic Site. I recommend a quick stop to
You guys
visit
wanna
this
watch it?
important
See it?
place in Canadian
Rod?
history.
No?
Here, give me that water bottle, Mom. I need water.
Well, the only thing you can do is take the lid off this.
Okay.
This little munchkin. He's like, man.
You'll see signs for the entrance to
Wish there
Burial
was
Castle
no
just
water in
ahead.
there.
It's a
that
world
what
of
happened?
miniature towns, model railways, and colorful Fantasyland characters, all obsessively and painstakingly created by a man named Herb Egan. There are also nature trails along the
It's a
Perry
call
River.
from the
If
library.
we have children on board, they might enjoy a stop at the miniature theme park.
Oh.
More snacks? Alright. I put them
There
away
are
already
3 or
because I thought
4
you were
mini
done.
theme park style attractions along this stretch. I do realize that these styles of experiences might not exactly be the type of thing that everyone visiting the Canadian Rockies is looking for. Some of them have evolved out of the local residents' hobbies, and others are attempts by the landowners to monetize the unique landscapes they have on their properties. There's really nothing wrong with that, and I'll tell you a little bit about the places since their signage is essentially impossible to ignore. But you will find that I'll be very clear about the places that I think are must-see
Well, Abby,
places
eat if you
on
want.
our drive.
Otherwise, they're going away.
I hope you're enjoying the
you
tour
want to
so
play with
far.
your shoe? You play with your shoe. Go for Kip.
Make it easier for Daddy in the back.
You're okay. I don't think you need any more now.
Oh, shit.
I was trying to give her books, and as she was finding me the books, something slingshotted the blanket, and a goldfish shot out and hit her in the face. She's like, yeah!
Here's another paid attraction. This one is the Crazy Creek Suspension Bridge.
She's
The
hungry.
bridge straddles
She's-
over a
she should be
creek
due a nap
that
shortly,
absolutely
right?
roars with snow melt
Usually
runoff
she
through the
eats a
spring
bit
and
before she
early
goes for a
summer
nap,
especially.
but
She's had
The
a
bridge
snack.
provides a bird's eye view
How
of
much
the
did you give
falls
her?
created
Quite a bit.
by a narrow
I've
bed
been
of rock,
eating non-stop
where
since
you
we
can
left.
feel the
Oh,
clouds of
munchkin.
mist kiss your face.
got lots to eat.
When the waters
Yeah,
are
lots
running
to
high,
eat.
the amount of noise is unbelievable.
Crazy Creek, it says the amount of noise that comes from here.
From
Or
what?
something that this place area here.
What comes from here?
The creeks. The guy says it's amazing the noise, the crazy noise that comes from here. I guess from the creeks, the water like flowing and stuff like that.
Oh.
I didn't quite hear what he said anyways. But I'm assuming that. That's what he said.
forest is actually a very popular stop of interest, especially if you have small children. The Enchanted Forest was the retirement project of Doris Needham and her husband. Doris was an eccentric artist living in Revelstoke in the 1950s. She made unusual fairy tale figurines from cement and shaped her creations by hand without the use of molds or forms. Together with her husband, Doris cleared the forest and built her little theme park by hand. It also includes one of Canada's largest treehouse. Passing by a small lake named Griffin Lake. Logging is once again visible here, and a number of cedar mills are located along the highway. Cedar is a tree that grows in high precipitation areas like the West Coast, so it's a little unusual to be plentiful enough this far inland to be commercially viable. That gives us a clue about how much rain falls through here. Cedar is quite a fascinating wood, being particularly resistant to rotting and used extensively in outside construction applications like roofing and decking. If you find a fresh cedar branch, try snapping it. It's incredibly sinewy wood that resists twisting, pulling, and bending, and will likely frustrate you into giving up. It also has a very fragrant smell, and it's used instead of mothballs or for making shoe trees, among many other things. If you've ever had a steam in a cedar-constructed sauna, you know that distinctive sweet smell, and probably have fond memories that you associate with cedar flavor. Cedar boughs are popular Christmas decorations, and cedar is even used for cooking salmon. Next time you see cedar plank salmon on the menu, give it a try. It is delicious.
It is delicious.
Yes, that is really
we
delicious.
know.
Especially when it's raw.
No, thank you. The only fish I eat raw is shrimp.
Just got fat. She's looking up. Oh, there's a bird up there. Is that what she's looking at? The crow?
Must be, yeah.
Yeah, there's a crow in the tree. She sounds like she's exerting herself on me.
If you want more sweet stuff, but can't find the crisps. So, want one of these?
No.
Want one of these, Rod?
Sure.
Gosh, the lineup is building up, Ron. My gosh.
Got enough books there, Ab. Right? Got a good deal. I just bought her a new book for $2.50 at the dollar shop. One. They got 5 for $2.
It's hilarious. She got a French one too, but I don't know if you noticed.
Mm-hmm.
No.
That's good. Is that good stuff, Abby? It's 30 outside. It's hot day. It's crazy how it's 30 outside right now, and you look up there and there's still some snow in the mountains, right? Like it tells you how cold it is up there.
No more.
Why is the altitude change when you go on higher, Rod? I don't understand that.
It's closer to the atmosphere, right?
Yeah,
Basically.
the air is,
Just the air's thinner up there.
air is thinner, it's under less pressure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Holy moly. What are they doing here anyway?
Who knows?
Where's this fella going? Oh, don't knock him over.
They're probably marking lines. Who knows? He's
playing statues.
no. I think he's trying to. Yeah, he does.
Nana.
I think he's trying to see how much. When he should cut off the traffic, right?
Oh, there's a walkie shop.
Because there's a big lineup all in the back.
Nana, you're being hailed.
Nana, you're being held.
That one's too big.
Oh my gosh, buddy, it's just a patch.
Good though.
The Sammy's booked it faster than the campers, Ronnie. It's crazy. Crazy how that is, A-Rod?
My lunch.
Like, I'm hungry, but I want other things than snacks, right? You know what I mean? What? Wow, this lineup is really long.
Look at that.
Look at the
Thank
lineup.
God we went behind that.
Oh my god.
Eh?
Oh my god.
Wow, look at it!
It's continuing. Yeah, it's further than when we were. Holy
We only
shit.
like 20 cars.
Yeah.
If that.
I could see behind us how much was piling up, but not like this. Not like this.
Good luck.
The lake we're driving alongside is Three
Oh
Valley
my
Lake.
God. Oh
It
my
has a fairly
God.
obvious
This is a
name,
Three Valley
as
Lake right
watersheds
there.
from 3 different valleys drain here.
Nice.
There's a nice little rest stop along here that has nice views of the lake if we feel like a short stop.
No.
The original town of Three Valley was located at the west end of the lake, opposite to where we see the development today. In
Yeah,
the
there's something else over there
1890s,
again.
After completion of the
Oh.
railway, a
Oh,
sawmill
the
was
rock.
built
There's
in the
more
town
construction
and it
coming
began
up.
to grow.
I could see there's a lineup on that
Population
road
would
over there.
eventually swell to several hundred at its peak, but the sawmill burnt down in 1913.
Construction.
It wasn't
See?
rebuilt, so the town began to diminish.
Fuck, I really want to pass those fucking campers. Alright.
What's that mean? Be careful you don't tip.
Yeah, you turn too sharp.
Slippery, slippery.
Yeah. Just let it go.
Not ready yet, Rod. Thank you.
Yeah, I could see the lineup.
Oh,
I gotta see the lineup going. Oh,
well.
just gonna build even more and more. Thanks. Come on. Three rivers poured into this lake. Kinda cool.
We're stretching out. Now some pictures. It's a long way up.
Oh, that's reassuring.
What?
He has one look and he says, ah, fuck it, I'm going for a swim.
Oh, he's gonna have a splash.
No, seriously. The way he was adjusting his pants, maybe. Or he wanted to. It's funny.
I've seen that in Uganda, hon. He just pulls over in the car, whips it out, has a pay and whips it and gets back in the car. Oh, look, she's getting out now. Look out. I think I stretched my legs. Oh, she's all doubled up. She's going to have to walk up like me. I've been seized up.
Signing off on pillow.
Snack time. Have some
We had
lunch.
enough.
scaring me sick. They're moving. Just got out.
No, she just got out.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Abby? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Are they
No.
falling rocks or something?
They're putting a netting on the
Oh.
side of the cliff
Hmm.
for yeah. Cause I see
They've done that in the Isle of Man too on the mountain road.
I could see a
Um,
lift.
Yeah. We'll see it when we go down.
I could see the lift right now.
Oh.
They're working on that. These chips are all right.
There's only one big road on the Isle of Man, and it has a big mountain like that, and then that's coast. Just a little road like that, just like one lane, and then there's the ocean, a big drop down to the ocean. And they just put netting on it because it was a brick. You know, the rocks fell.
No, thank you.
One moment.
Mom,
Get out of the bag.
here, well, you were just about to reach them. Okay, do that again.
Up ahead, we should see the red roofs of the
We're
Three
just
Valley
at George
Chateau.
setting up in
This is a hotel
Victoria.
with restaurant services and a historical museum housing several interesting exhibits. Gordon Bell was the man responsible for this development. As a child in the Great Depression, Gordon and his wife saw the devastating impacts of the lean depression years. And Bell dreamt of building a complex that would provide work and sustenance for him and his family.
Second building
In
there.
That's what he's
1956,
talking about.
Bell bought the lakeshore property in which the chateau and museum now sit. A short while later, he and his wife began constructing the red-roofed complex we see today. These buildings house the Three Valley Gap Heritage Ghost Town, which transports visitors back to the pioneer days of the 1800s. It's also home to the Antique Auto Museum, featuring automobiles from 1902 through 1929. Guests can also explore the Railway Roadhouse, which contains a variety of railway displays. It's really a surprisingly comprehensive experience here, considering how in the middle of nowhere it feels.
She's reading.
It was awesome.
Ooh, look at this.
Yeah, they're fixing up the netting.
It's steel netting.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Poop.
No, she's eating the books.
Abby,
Oh, don't let
no
her do
eating.
that. They're screwing it into the wall too. Look at the dreadlocks. That should be dangerous. That he should have his hair tied back.
I should open the window and say, "You should have your
Get your bloody hair tied up.
Oh, it's gonna be a long drive, Ronnie.
Why is it blocked up here?
No, just because of constructions, and now it's all blocked. Now it's all just backlogged.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, eh?
Stop that, Gabriella, or you'll take the books away.
Some people have been in roadblocks for almost a day in the UK. You know, something's happened and you're on the motorway and you can't go forward or back. So they used to drop things down by helicopter, like crates of water and food and stuff like that for people who can't get out.
Crazy.
Wouldn't that be terrible? Hey,
Can't imagine.
you can get out of your car, but you can't drive it because there's something going on.
Jeez. These campers are very annoying. Ugh. Hopefully the next passing lanes, there won't be another construction area going on, Rod. Because twice now, every time I wanted to pass, like the double lane, it was construction going on. They decide to start picking up speed now, or what?
Eagle Pass lies just ahead of us. Walter Moberly, a government surveyor, was the first documented European in this area in 1865. He was exploring these mountains for the BC government, looking for a pass through them. When he arrived at the mouth of the Eagle River, he spotted a nest filled with eaglets at the top of a tree. The two adult eagles sat on a nearby branch. Moberly then did something that today would be completely uncool. He drew his pistol and fired 8 to 10 bullets at the nest. For reasons known only to him, he was trying to knock it down, but he failed. As Moberly told it, the two adult eagles then circled the nest before flying up the valley to the river. It occurred to the surveyor that if he followed the eagles, he might find a desirable pass through the mountains. Following several more days of exploration, Moberly knew he'd found the pass and decided the most appropriate name he could ever give it was Eagle Pass.
It's 100 people, not 90. 100. 100. Is she still reading? See why
As you can see, Eagle Pass is quite narrow. The railway did everything necessary to keep the tracks at a perfectly 2% grade. So the Trans-Canada Highway, which came many years later, was forced to crisscross the valley, constantly avoiding the rails. The difficulty of construction and maintenance for both the rail line and the highway is obvious throughout our drive. Tunnels and snow sheds challenged the construction, but were necessary to reduce the risks always present in the mountains. In the small lake and ponds around here, at any given time, we'll see old wood floating in the lakes. Usually you'll see something like a mini log jam at one end of the lake. That will tell you which end of the lake the water drains out. But the question is, where did those logs come from? Might it be beavers? No, that's not the answer. Beaver dams look much more like mounds, and though there might be larger logs in its construction, there will always be much more smaller branches and twigs. And beavers like to block streams and rivers, not dam the edge of lakes. Is it careless loggers who've lost control of their logs and they've floated away? Possibly, but not likely. It's a real waste of time, effort, and lost revenue to cut logs and then not get them to the mill. No, I've already hinted at the answer. If you see a pile of old logs at the end of a lake, especially when surrounded by steep mountains, it's most likely debris that's been smashed down by avalanches. Trees that have been snapped by the force or completely uprooted and carried down the slope. It's really nobody's job to try and clean that mess up once it's in the lake.
Fuck, these campers should really slow down.
pass him, man.
Yes, exactly.
We are now in the midst of the Monashee mountain range. If you look into the forest, you may notice the large trees, lush undergrowth, and abundance of moss. These are telltale signs that it's a very wet region. In the wet season, over the winter months, this moisture makes for heavy snowfalls. As a result, this region is very popular for snowmobiling and heliskiing. There are several heliskiing lodges tucked away in these mountains.
All right, Rod.
No, that's when accidents
all over
happen.
the
We don't
world
make
and
decisions.
pay top dollar to use them.
I made a decision and I want to
It's not
slow down.
uncommon to spend
Rod, that's what I wanted to do.
$10,000 or more on a luxurious week of heliskiing, and space is often sold out years in advance. It's a major source of income for the province of BC. The Monashees extend 530 kilometers from the north to the south and 150 kilometers from east to west. More than 75% of the range is in BC, and the remainder crosses the border into the state of Washington. The Monashees are a part of the larger Columbia Range, and the highest peaks are over 3,000 meters, or 10,000 feet high.
Stop exerting yourself, Munchkin.
Who invented the air conditioner, Rod?
We'll soon be arriving in the town of Revelstoke.
I
The
thought you knew
dominant peak
everything.
rising above the town of Revelstoke is Mount Begbie. It's so dominant, it even has its own beer. If it's evening and you're pulling into town for dinner or to stop for the night, make sure we have at least one glass of Begbie cream ale. It's delicious. Revelstoke is primarily a railroad town. But as you've heard, tourism through skiing and snowmobiling have also become very popular in the area. A new ski resort with one of North America's biggest vertical drops has also begun operation here to take advantage of the abundant snow. Alongside the highway, just ahead, there are several gas stations, fast food and chain restaurants, and other good amenities. If we're headed into the downtown area, I'll point out the best exit. The town has a very good railway museum if you like looking at old trains, and a surprising number of people do. Also in downtown, there's an excellent small collection of more local flavored stores and eateries. Well worth a stop into town.
See that 7-Eleven or something like that? Stop.
Okay.
Drink.
Okay.
You want a 7-Eleven, Rod?
Something like that, yeah.
Really thirsty, son. There's a bit of water here if you want it.
No, that's okay, thanks.
Should have brought some Mio, but
Yeah, I didn't even think of it.
just thought of that now. She hitting the book her belly.
I think she's talking more now than she ever did.
One of my favorite things to do in Revelstoke is to visit the Meadows in the Sky, which is located at the top of Mount Revelstoke. You'll need a couple of hours to enjoy this, so if we're on a tight schedule, we may not be able to do it this time. But if you've allowed some time to explore this area, then I would put it on the must-do list. I'll point out the turn to get there. After the turn, the drive is 26 kilometers to the summit of Mount Revelstoke, at the heart of the national park. When we arrive, the 1 kilometer or about 3/4 mile Meadows in the Sky trail meanders through a subalpine meadow. The views, the flowers, the drive, Everything is outstanding about this location. Signs provide information about this fragile area, where winter lasts up to 9 months out of the year. A point of interest is the ice box, a shaded rock cleft where the snow persists throughout the summer. This trail is at its best in late July and early August, when the wildflower blooming season is at its peak.
Train.
If we can fit it in, it is definitely a worthwhile side trip.
Toot toot.
Martha Creek. I guess we should go in town. What?
No, just follow the highway.
Across this bridge is the town of Revelstoke. Below us, we get our first look at the important Columbia River. This is the same Columbia River that makes its way through Washington State and opens into the Pacific Ocean near Astoria in Oregon. By the time the Columbia reaches here, it's already encountered several dams and 2 ferry crossings.
I don't see anything.
As we exit the bridge, you'll see the highway services, gas stations, and food outlets easily. To access Revelstoke's
What is
charming
that blanket?
downtown, turn right at the first traffic lights and continue
Her
past the
blanket.
fair. Stay straight if you don't want to stop, and we'll head deep into the mountains by following the Trans-Canada Highway. If we
If
have
she
less
can't
than
get
a
it,
half a
she's
tank of
pulling
gas,
at it. If she can't get
probably
it,
a good place to fill
right?
up before we
Yeah.
continue.
then when you give it to her, she just kicks it away. She doesn't want it.
Scared the shit out of me, buddy.
Where's he going?
Oh, this is the Shell might have stuff like that, Rod?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Look at the water, eh? It's so beautiful. Red River's just all gross.
Yes.
They would have it there, right? Or even McDonald's, Rod? No, you want a Slurpee.
McDonald's is fine too. There's something that's on this side that you can pull in.
Yeah, that's
easily.
the-
A&W.
Which one do you want?
Starbucks.
Starbucks? Okay. You want Starbucks?
Route recalculating. In 200 meters, take the 3rd exit at the traffic circle.
There's a 24/7. You make
Route
it
recalculating.
Slurpee in there,
I'll go
Rod.
to Starbucks. It's fine.
In 300 meters, turn left and then
Put the
turn
hand.
slight
Oh, no, I
right.
won't use a handicap. I'll just park.
You'll probably get one in here.
It's like, where are you going, Daddy?
I know she's talking a lot more now. If you listen carefully, she'll say something like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah, yeah. Oh
Oh,
my
oh,
gosh.
oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Oh my
no.
goodness, and that's what I've been saying to her. Now he knows what it's like to look after her in the back.
Yep. Yep.
You have to keep her entertained. Or you have to give her snacks. She's ready for a snack, but she starts the Did I say a snack or a nap?
You said snack.
No, she's ready for a nap,
nap,
but she
yeah.
starts Did you not want to drink or go and get a drink?
No, not really.
The water is in there somewhere.
I want some actual food. That's because I'm hungry,
I
right?
know, well, I was going to buy a chicken. I thought the chicken would have been good. We could have eaten it with our hands.
Another 2 hours, we're going.
To the next hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might actually go for pee.
Go on then.
Yeah. Use it on electric at least. Hey, sweetie. Hi, honey. Hey. Yeah.
What's that she's got on? Skirt and pants. I don't like that. Not my thing.
Blub, 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 blub.
I've never seen that, skirt and leggings.
I've seen it before. I've seen shorts and leggings,
Okay.
but not very often. Like I haven't seen. It's not like I haven't seen it before, but it's
Okay.
meh. It's unusual.
Yeah.
Ooh, reading books. It's busy in there. Busy in there. Abby will be like, what's this? Did you? Oh, I thought you gave her something.
What you got now?
No, I thought Ronnie was gonna give her some frappuccino. I was like, oh boy, oh boy. What the heck is over there?
What did you get, Rod?
Frappuccino.
Like a coffee thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fancy that, did you? I thought you wanted a cold drink. They must have
Turn
bears around
slight
here.
right and
There
then
was
turn
bear
left.
things. Bear garbage. What are the bear?
Oh, I can't. Son of a bitch. I have to do a UE.
Yeah.
Fuck. Oh no, I could get. Oh fuck. Oh, there's a roundabout here? Oh, perfect. No? Oh shit.
Okay, great. It looks like we're heading into town.
No.
We'll
We're
get a
not.
much better feel for
gonna be
Revelstoke
turning
by doing
around.
this.
Route
rather than
recalculating.
places on the
Take the
highway.
third exit.
Just keep following this way for about 8 to 10 blocks to reach the true heart of town.
It was a one way, so I couldn't go that
Mackenzie
way.
Avenue is the one that we'll be aiming for. It's a few blocks further down after we pass the
Take
railway.
the exit.
If you have an interest in trains and railway engineering, this is a great place to stop. When it's time to leave, there's a separate way to get out of
In
town.
200 meters, turn right onto Trans-Canada Highway.
He's gonna continue talking. It's like, oh, I guess you've changed your mind.
Turn right onto Trans-Canada Highway.
Yeah, that would be funny.
Pedestrians, get the go.
Continue on current road for more than 50 kilometers.
The next left turn is
you
the
got your
way to
fix
get
now,
to the
Rod?
Revelstoke Dam.
Hey,
Pardon?
It has
got
some
your
very
fix
pretty
now?
views. The second exit is the one to climb up to the Meadows in the Sky, which is the side trip that I really recommend here. Remember, that road is 26 kilometers long to get to the main trail. If we're not planning on turning off, we can just keep following the Trans-Canada as it begins to climb.
Ooh.
Look at that.
I don't know what the speed limit is here yet. Oh, that freaking camper. Are you serious?
You don't like the camera?
No, I said the camper. And like I saw a camper in front. I'm like, oh, I just passed that guy not too long ago. Gonna have to repass him again. It's only 70 down here.
Yeah, it really is. There's 2 lanes here though, you'll be alright.
Yeah. I don't know how long, right? That's the thing. Am I gonna be able to pass that guy? No. Fuck.
Oh, we moved over, look at that.
Yeah, because it's merging lane. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the lines ending. I'm like, I can't make it. Yeah, there's gonna be another passing lane anyways coming up. And 800 meters. Yay.
Revelstoke, up above us, has an integral place in the history
Road check
of
on
ski
now?
jumping.
It's a road
It was
check?
here that the very first
But-
ski jump in North America was created and remained active
Whoa.
for nearly 60
The
years.
fuck was that about?
Ski historians agree
That was weird.
the
That was me.
development
Oh,
of
he
skiing
spotted a
occurred
cyclist. That's
simultaneously
why.
through the east and west of this continent. But its origins in North America are largely attributed to immigrant Norwegians and what were called Norwegian snowshoes. Norwegians were among the early settlers here, coming with a railroad and working in mining and logging. This led to the first maintained jump being established in 1915. And on 5 occasions over 20 years, new world record leaps were measured. To fly over 60 meters with long, heavy planks of wood strapped to your boots must have been quite a brave or maybe even stupid thing to do. The last time the jumps were used was in the early 1970s before being abandoned for good. Ski jumping had lost all popularity in North America, overtaken by downhill skiing, ski and border cross racing, slope-style jumps, and slalom racing. But this was the hot spot for outstanding jumping back in the day. Nowadays, it's the Scandinavian and Alpine European countries that dominate ski jumping at the Olympic level. In Calgary, the giant ski jump towers from the 1988 Winter Olympics remain as an impressive legacy for training and competition. Now that we've pulled away from Revelstoke, let's have an update of what's ahead of us. We're now on the way to Golden, which is about 2 hours away and is the last biggish town before we cross into Alberta.
Oh,
On the
no
way,
way.
we'll pass through
It's
2
literally
national parks,
for the
numerous snow
Alberta.
sheds,
Nice.
several stops that I think you might be interested in, and hopefully the occasional wildlife sighting. The temperatures are likely a little cooler here than through the dusty
Look at there's a
Kamloops
horse
region.
in that, or is
And
it
if not, we can always cool
is
off
it
in
a
the
little,
shade of some
trailer?
of the huge trees
Are they
that we'll
asleep?
see. But most of all,
I think it's
we're
for like
going to see a
motorbikes,
dramatic
or it could be
change
for
in
a
the size and
lawnmower,
shape of
or
little
mountains.
camper, is it?
or it could
We
be a
won't
small
actually
truck,
reach the
even
true
like a
Rocky
small
Mountains
vehicle in there
until we
too,
leave
like
the
a
town
classic
Golden
car or
up
hot
ahead.
rod maybe, depending.
Until then, we'll be driving
Maybe a
through
little
the
camper.
Oh, it is.
I thought it was for horses.
Though these mountains are much larger
No,
than
it looks like it
anything
could be a
we've seen for
camper, yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The geology of these mountains is
From the side.
quite different to what we'll see up ahead in the Rockies. This section from here through Rogers Pass is some of the most spectacular mountain driving around. Let's take our time. It's not a race for us. If we see great views, let's stop somewhere clear of the traffic and take a few pictures. I will suggest a few good short walks and stops along the way. If we have time, we should stop at these places and take it all
Oh,
in.
you can have
We're
animals.
going
Oh,
to
yes,
climb
horses
for a
in
while
there.
now, so
Ooh,
sit back,
look at the
relax,
horses.
and enjoy.
Yeah, it's a horse trailer. It's hard from the back. You can really see in the front, right? On the sides, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. There are horses in there. You said there's awesome viewings that you can take pictures of, Rod? Where was this? Did we pass it yet, or?
Sun's coming up, you'll let us know.
You're just gonna drive by, yeah, because it's getting late, eh?
CBC Winnipeg News.
It's unusual having that semi drive a car and pass a car, Rod. But eh. No scent. Loose sand. Temporary pavement rankings. Oh yeah, these here. Golden 123. 132.
There are about a half dozen points of interest that are worth stopping at over the next 45 minutes of our drive. Now, since we've come all the way here, it would be great to be able to stop at all of them. Each of these short walks is only about 30 minutes or less, but I understand that we might not have enough time to do all of them. So here's what I recommend. If we can only stop at one of these spots, I would pick the Giant Cedars Boardwalk as the best stop. I'll point it out ahead. As a second choice, I also find the Skunk Cabbage Boardwalk very interesting, but it's best before July. So if it's mid-July or later, my number 2 choice would change from being the Skunk Cabbage Boardwalk to be the Rock Garden.
On the thing.
Oh, keys. Did I answer it?
Hello? Hello?
Hung up. Here, just. Not used to that stuff. It's probably that 10 kilometers, Ronnie. Fuck.
We're now entering Mount Revelstoke National Park. You're required to purchase a park pass if you're going to stop in any of the national parks.
Oh, we're not, yeah.
The thing is that there's nowhere to buy a pass before we get to Rogers Pass. So don't worry, we aren't going to get into any trouble if we stop before the visitor center and we don't have one. But do buy one at the Rogers Pass Visitor Center. The pass you buy will be good at any and all of the national parks. So if we plan to stop anywhere here or in Banff or Jasper National Parks, then you can buy a pass at Rogers Pass and not have to think about it ever again for the rest of our travels. Designated in 1914, Mount Revelstoke National Park protects a 260 square kilometer portion of the Columbia Mountains region in the interior wet belt of British Columbia. Compared to other national parks, there's very little road access to this one. We really do little more than cut through the edge of it. To get deep into this park, you must hike or ski, depending on the season. The steep, rugged mountains, warm, moist climate, and variety of plant and animal life are typical of this region. The park contains stands of old-growth cedars and hemlock, a forest type which is rapidly declining outside of protected areas. The park also protects a small herd of the threatened mountain caribou and provides habitat for grizzly bears and mountain goats. Ecologically and geologically, the area is distinct from the Rocky Mountains to the east and the Coast Mountains to the west.
There's not really room to put that in.
Put it in
Just open the window and throw it.
Oh, I'll never forget my friend. She was eating McDonald's and she just opened the window and she threw the whole bag right out and I gave her shit. Couldn't believe that she did that. It's like, don't you freaking do that ever again.
Have you got the rubbish bag there, Jay?
No,
just put it in your door. There's not really much room in my side. There's not really room in my side. Yeah, I don't know how you can stop because my my water's in the door right now, right? What?
There's empty bags there, bro.
Yeah, just because my water's there. Okay, something's tickling my arm. Maybe that thinks.
Oh my God! The skyjack ledge on the Willis Tower's cracked under the visitors' feet. Like the needle dome, the space dome needle.
Yeah.
Look at it. Oh my God. Thank God I wasn't on it.
It cracked under the feet?
Yeah, the visitors' feet.
How big was the guy?
The Willis Tower, I don't know, I can't open it.
Oh, the Willis Tower. Oh, okay.
The turn for the Skunk Cabbage Boardwalk Trail is coming, and there
not
is
the one in Seattle, something else, right?
The trail is only 1.2 kilometers long, which is about 3/4 of a mile. It spans swamp inhabited by muskrat, beaver, numerous birds, and the skunk cabbage plant. Sex and evolution are at least partly responsible for this plant's stinky name. When the leaves of the skunk cabbage plant are bruised or crushed, the plant releases a strong odor, which smells like rotten meat. This smell attracts insects, which land on the flowers of the skunk cabbage. They then help the plant's reproduction by taking pollen from one cabbage to another. Many fly species, as well as some butterflies, bees, and beetles, pollinate skunk cabbage. Signs identifying the plants and animals are posted along the boardwalk. This fascinating place is at its best, seen and smelled from May through July.
Skunk cabbage boardwalk. 1 kilometer. It's funny. It says it's only 90 down here, but like I saw the sign.
Well, listen to this, Rod.
Yep.
So, it's Chris Williamson. I don't know whether you know him or not. So I'm at the dollar store to get a spade to plant bulbs in my garden. And this little shit of a
The
kid
spectacular
decides to
giant
throw a
cedar
fit
boardwalk
over
trail was
these
coming.
larger candy bars and called his mum, and I quote, a bitch, because she wouldn't get him this particular bar. I waited for her to slap the living shit out of him, and instead she literally gave in and said, I'll get you the bigger one when we get to the register, okay? Well, I tell you, I had no intentions of spending 24 bucks on candy bars, but you should have seen that little shit's face as I walked out the door with all the chocolate. Gee whiz.
What this stuff is all about.
Sorry, but that's okay.
Don't give in to kids when they want stuff. You get nothing then for being naughty.
I know that.
Yeah, we know.
Hey, bud. Hey, bud. Is she wanting to sleep right now? She's not sure, but moo.
Coming up, we're going to see a big sign advertising the entrance to the Albert Canyon Hot Springs. You can tell we're not inside a national park at this point. CPR workmen allegedly discovered the warm mineral waters of Albert Canyon at the turn of the century. The railway employees built an open-air hot tub, which was used by visitors and residents for many years. Today's facilities at Canyon Hot Springs are some distance away from the source, and the water from the natural hot springs is piped 2 kilometers to the pools. This location is also a privately operated RV and camping ground. There are full amenities there, and it's a popular place to overnight if it's late in the day. The village of Albert Canyon, the gorge, the peaks, and the hot springs were all named for Albert Rogers, the nephew of the pass engineer, Major Rogers. It's one of those privileges to name things after your friends and family.
Yes, that's what I did last time because it spotted the pedestrian and scared the shit out of me. Fuck. Crazy air rods. Carl. Is it passing lane? Yeah. No, it's not. Not yet. Not yet.
Before we reached Revelstoke, I encouraged us to stop at the last spike. The place where the last railway spike
just
was
continue.
ceremoniously driven in to complete the railroad that connected eastern and western Canada. Between there and the front ranges of the Rocky Mountains east of Banff was absolutely the toughest track to build. Dealing with steep mountainous terrains, rock slides and avalanches,
Wow,
deep
I'm going uphill,
snow, and
Ronnie.
even simply
Holy
finding
moly.
potential routes that trains were capable of
It's
getting
not
through.
letting me climb up.
And if none were found, they had no choice but to try and create one. Over the next few hours, I'm going to keep referring back to the railroad so you can appreciate what an amazing task it was to complete and build a nation.
Holy.
I'll point out some features along the way too.
Fuck, we must be going upwards, Rod, because it's forcing. Actually got quiet pretty quick here. Are your ears popping, Munchkin? Because mine were a little bit.
Railroads were created and operating in much of the developed world in the second half of the 1800s. So the concept of a railroad that crossed Canada doesn't seem particularly unique. Although, as we'll see, the feat of construction itself was amazing. But the very first thing we should consider is the politics behind a railway that connected the Atlantic to the Pacific. The man who's largely credited for initiating the urgency of the railroad was John Palliser. Born an Irishman, Palliser first came to Canada in 1847 for hunting and adventure, and he wrote a book about his travels that proved quite popular. At the time, though not yet a formal nation, Canada and Western Canada was under the control of the British. For the previous 2 centuries, the British part of North America had been controlled by the Hudson's Bay Company, whose business interests were based around the fur trade. Their monopoly on the area was coming under question as civilization began moving into the previously uninhabited areas, uninhabited by white people, that is. American pioneering settlers were following the Oregon Trail and settling into what is now Oregon and Washington State. In these newly settled states, the call for democratic vote had ended British control over those areas, and there was a strong chance of it happening again. John Palliser had realized to prevent the British from losing Western Canada to the new Americans, they needed to find a route through the mountains and push a railway through. John Palliser tried to convince the British Parliament to fund an expedition to find a route through the mountains. Similarly, from 1853 to 1856, the United States government financed a series of expeditions to look for possible routes for railways from the central states of America to the Pacific. Some of these groups had, on occasion, crossed the border into British territory, which had motivated John Palliser even more to push for the expedition. It would seem he convinced the British Parliament about the threat, and the race was on to keep Western Canada for the British before the Americans simply spilled over and claimed it just by being there in larger numbers first. There were some amazing characters on Palliser's expedition. The Palliser expedition took place from 1857 until 1860.
up yet.
There is a series of snow sheds just ahead. Please be sure to use your headlights so we can easily be seen. The snow shed function is simple. In places that are regularly subject to avalanches, the snow and ice is deflected over the highway instead of onto it. Despite the presence of heavy traffic and modern conveniences, it would be a mistake to think that Mother Nature has been controlled in the area. Tremendous avalanches occur here in the winter, and staff are employed year-round to predict them. In winter, they log weather and snowpack details. Remote sensors in special study areas high in the mountains above the pass continually radio weather information to forecasters. The idea is to monitor how deep and stable the snowpack is. If the snowpack is determined to be at risk of sliding, then the crews intervene to control how and when an avalanche is going to happen, rather than it occurring naturally and by surprise. Tremendous amounts of human energy and money are spent holding the highway's position in the pass. Every winter, the timeless forces of snowfall and avalanche batter away at the defenses. In winter, the highway can be closed at any time so that unstable slide areas can be attacked with artillery. So, if a resulting avalanche spills over the highway, crews are ready to clear it immediately, and no one is at risk of being caught in the path.
Wow. Yeah, no, they're obviously new because we haven't been through that many tunnels. Alright. Let's follow this dude. Let's go 70. See how far those guys going. 60. It's funny how the brights came on, Rod. And then boop. Why is it not off? Auto. It's weird. There we go. Takes a while to kick in.
We're now entering Glacier National Park. Keep an eye on the sides of the highway in late spring, as black bears often feed on the roadsides. You're less likely to see grizzlies, as they prefer the solitude of the backcountry. Though in the early spring, snow might force them down to lower elevations to feed. Glacier National Park enjoys numerous roaring waterfalls, raging rivers, and soaring peaks. Many of the mountains are over 3,050 meters high, or 10,000 feet. That altitude means warm, wet weather systems crossing the mountains from the Pacific are forced up by the high mountains into colder air, where they're condensed, dropping huge amounts of snow on the mountains, and feeding 400 glaciers in the area. There's snow year-round on 14% of the park's landscape. This park does not offer any road access other than the highway, which cuts through the middle of it. So our experience is largely going to be what can be seen from the highway, unless we're prepared to hike.
Forget that you have to put off the foot all the way down to the pedal.
The most notable man-made place in Glacier National Park is the buildings and services at the top of this climb at Rogers Pass. The pass was named for Major Albert Bowman Rogers. Earlier expeditions had suggested rail routes further north through Edmonton. The new general manager of the CPR, William Cornelius Van Horn, wanted the route to be further south, like through these parts. By the way, Van Horn had never seen the Rocky Mountains when he came to that conclusion. They hired an American surveyor known for getting the job done. This is a good time to remember that the railway was going to protect Canada from a passive American occupation. Rogers arrived in the area in 1880 and spent his first full season exploring valleys and passes without success. The following year, he tried exploring from Revelstoke back to Golden. From a high point in the Selkirk Mountains, he recognized a nearby peak from the summer before. He had found a pass that connected. It still wasn't easy. As a man, Rogers had a fierce reputation and an abrasive manner, driving his men to near starvation with his miserly distribution of rations. There's a story that he didn't cash his $5,000 check for achieving his task, preferring to keep it in a frame. The story goes that he did eventually cash it when promised a gold watch by Van Horn as a keepsake instead. The turnoff for the Hemlock Grove Boardwalk is just up ahead. The elevated boardwalk is short, only 400
There's
meters
a lot
long,
to see on
and
this
winds through old
road,
growth
Roddy.
forest with towering western red cedars and western hemlocks. Some of them are more than 350 years old. The size of the trees and the thickness of the rainforest's lush green undergrowth are spectacular. I really enjoy these giant tree sites, and I'm a little biased towards turning for them. Trail coming up, and for me, it's my second favorite pick after the giant cedars, and if it's mid-July or later. There's a good sign marking the entrance to the parking area. The rock garden takes us through a rock avalanche area where the fall occurred thousands of years ago. It's a great combination of forest and moss and lichen-covered rocks and boulders, and there are also rewarding views along the way. You'll need about 20 minutes to do this trail, but I will warn you that the trail is quite uneven and just a little rock hopping is required. It's not too difficult, but those with mobility issues might want to avoid this one. You will want to wear covered footwear that doesn't have slippery soles. Take the turnoff if you'd like to visit the rock garden.
Want to go for a little hike?
Though a suitable route for the railway was found through what's called Rogers Pass, the route was still treacherous, and an appalling 200 lives were lost during the first 30 years of operation. To reduce the risk and improve safety, the Canadian Pacific Railway has tunneled under the pass twice. The 8-kilometer Connaught Tunnel was completed during the First World War to avoid avalanches. The 14.7-kilometer Mount Macdonald Tunnel, which you'll see the train tracks enter into just ahead, was completed much later in 1988. It was built to allow east and westbound traffic to simultaneously cross Rogers Pass. The Macdonald Tunnel is the longest railway tunnel in North America, and like so much of the mountainous part of the route, offered an interesting challenge to builders. 2 contracts were awarded, each starting from opposite ends. The company reaching the midpoint first was promised an additional contract to drill a ventilation shaft.
There's a
One contract was awarded to conventional miners who would drill and blast essentially by hand. The second contract was awarded to a mechanized drilling operation using a track-mounted satellite and laser-guided machine called the mole. Technology lost in this case. It was the conventional miners who won the additional contract.
You guys are okay? Don't want to stretch? Obviously not. Past that point now, eh? It's closed anyways. Nobody can go there.
There are signs for the Loop Brook Trail just ahead. It's okay to skip this walk if we're being selective about which ones we do. But what I want you to notice along here are the stone pillars and supports. These once held a curved railway bridge. The bridge did the same thing on a simpler scale as the spiral tunnels at the Alberta-BC border. By lengthening the route, it helped flatten out the incline, so freight trains would have an easier time making the climb.
Please obey all signs. Look at that mountain, eh? Look at the ice, the snow.
Yeah.
The snow, eh? Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was going down. Thank you. At least we're moving and not stopped, right?
What do we need maintenance of the highway?
Yeah, something.
At the top of this climb, we'll reach the Rogers Pass National Historic Site, a dedication to the incredible achievement of bringing the railroad through this beautiful but dangerous terrain. If you've enjoyed the stories about establishing the railroad, then you'll also enjoy a visit to the Discovery Center, where there's an excellent series of displays and some interesting video presentations. You can't miss the Discovery Center. The building follows the
signs are
shape
really
and style
clear.
of a snow shed. It's also a place where we can get ourselves a park pass if needed. Our man, Major Albert Bowman Rogers, was a pretty tough character, with a fearsome reputation for harsh treatment of his workers, a foul mouth, and apparently a somewhat egotistical personality. It's reported that having a pass named after him was his greatest held reward. I'm not sure how thrilled his workers would have been about it, but the significance of the accomplishment for Canada was enormous.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it really 50? Fuck.
What if it's
Son of a bitch. This guy, camper wants to pass, right? But it's fucking construction tells me to go. Gosh, eh?
Rogers Pass is just ahead, and it's marked by a two-arched monument. We'll see that before we see the other buildings. You might like to stop for a quick photo before we go to the other buildings.
Oh my God.
The summit is at an elevation of 1,330 meters, or just over 4,300 feet. It's not the highest point on the Trans-Canada Highway, but it is a significant point.
Wow,
Past the monument, we can visit the Discovery Center, stop for washrooms, and pick up some drinks or snacks. There are some original railroad tracks here that we can also walk along. Of course, now that section is not needed, as trains are passing through the tunnel underneath us. The green roof building is Glacier Park Lodge, and it opened in 1963 to coincide with the completion of the Trans-Canada Highway route through here. The lodge is no longer operating. I recommend a stop here at Rogers Pass, even if it's just for a short break. Once we get going again, we'll be starting downhill almost immediately.
Stuck to the fucking while because this freaking semi-trailer fucking decided to pass the dude. That guy would scooch over if it was a passing lane, right, Rod? But yeah, fuck. Well, those are pretty clear signs of a man in women's sport shoes.
Yeah. Not making a mistake there.
No.
We're already heading downhill, and will be for a while now. Keep an eye open for the sign marking the Hermit Trail. It's actually not a trail I'm recommending that we hike, but I do want to mention it quickly. It's one of the steepest trails in Canada's national park system. Hikers head up, and I do mean up, through subalpine forest, and eventually clear the tree line. There, they're rewarded with an unobstructed view of towering peaks covered in snow and ice. The trail rises 820 meters vertically over a distance of 3.2 kilometers. I'm going to give you that one in feet too, so everyone gets it. The rise is 2,700 feet over a distance of 10,500 feet. That's an average 25% grade. It's not a hike that's recommended for unprepared or inexperienced hikers.
We're gonna be going under a tunnel soon.
We will again be entering a series of snow sheds in a moment. It's nice to think that there is some guarantee that the entrance and exit of each snow shed is in a position where no avalanche will reach. Of course, that's like saying we can control nature. But they are positioned where they are for a very good reason. Let me give you a few stats. Rogers Pass gets about 10 meters, or 33 feet of snow each winter. If you're not from a place that receives all that much snow, or any snow, I can tell you, that's a lot of snow. As we already mentioned, avalanches are very common in winter because of the steep mountains and deep snow. When the railway first went over the pass, 31 snow sheds covering about 6.5 kilometers of track were built to protect the railway from avalanches. The official statistic is that avalanche debris closes the highway route through here for about 100 hours in an average winter. Some winters are better, some are worse. An extremely large avalanche in an unexpected area can take days to clear and reopen the highway. But thankfully, over time, the majority of problematic places are monitored and controlled by firing concussive shells into slopes that need to be brought down before the risk of sliding on their own.
So they're not tunnels, they're snow sheds.
It's just for the avalanches, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Made of concrete.
Ooh, got some water. Splish splash. It tells it's dark. Daylight.
What a great, narrow, and steep valley this is. And the mountain view that opens up in front of us each time we round a corner is amazing. We've talked a lot about avalanches, and you've seen many avalanche chutes around us. We've acknowledged the destructive power of avalanches and how they can level forests and block highways and railway tracks. But from this destruction also comes benefit, especially for bears. You'll see that in the chutes, the brush is rich and green and a great source of food for bears, rodents, and various other animals. In the springtime, you may also see bears scavenging amongst leftover snow that came down as a slide during the winter. This is because the contact snow acts as a natural meat freezer.
You're being really slow.
Avalanches are the leading cause of death amongst mountain goats, and their carcasses are sometimes frozen in the debris. In the spring, hungry bears dig out the preserved remains and enjoy a ready-made meal.
Come on. What's that?
I was looking for that fella was going up.
Yeah, pretty quick. Pretty fast. Oh my gosh. This is ridiculous. There was this Volkswagen van behind us. He passed like all the cars, and I saw him creeping up behind me. So he's not gonna make it. He's not gonna be able to pass the semis. At first, I thought he was gonna rear-end me at first. Oh, it's like it starts picking speed up, and then it slows down again.
We just passed the opening of McDonald Tunnel at this end, though it's not easy to see from the highway. I've spoken a lot about the railway and the difficulties of Rogers Pass, and I just want to finish up on that topic by explaining about the tunnels. When the track for the railway were laid through Rogers Pass, they followed above ground all the way, which exposed the train and drivers to terrible risk from avalanches. The first solution was to build all those snow sheds. The first tunnel to be constructed was the Connaught Tunnel, and it was completed in 1916. The purpose of the tunnel was to avoid the worst of the avalanche-exposed areas. That tunnel is 8 kilometers long and had dual tracks in it, so trains could travel both ways. An extra benefit was that it reduced the total vertical climb by about 1,000 feet. But one of the problems of the tunnel was the approach from the east side, or for trains heading westbound. It was still quite steep in train terms, and as much as 6 extra locomotives, called pushers, would have been added to trains to get them up to the tunnel. In 1959, the tunnel was realigned from 2 tracks to just a single track to accommodate taller freight trains. So, now there are 2 problems. It was in 1988 that the McDonald Tunnel was completed. This was the long one. 14.7 kilometers long, and it lessened the climbing height by another 500 feet. The tunnel removed the need to use the pushers to get those big heavy trains into the Connaught Tunnel. And it allowed these newfangled taller trains to travel in both directions through the pass at the same time once again. So, the way it works today is that trains now predominantly travel east towards Calgary through the Connaught Tunnel and west towards Vancouver through the newer Mount McDonald Tunnel.
I'm getting tired of it.
Well, it's nerve-wracking because you don't know what people are going to do.
Yeah.
You know, we know what we're doing, we're driving. But when you see all these people and stuff, you know, people who want to get from A to B.
Yeah. Exactly.
Here on the eastern side of Glacier National Park, we're tracking through what's called the Beaver River Valley. You'd think beavers would be the topic of conversation here, and I'm sure that the Beaver River did get its name because of beavers being active along its route. But what I wanted to mention here is actually dragonflies. The bottom of this valley is wet and supports no less than 22 species of dragonfly. In fact, 1/4 of the total species found in BC. If you spend time on the shore of a lake in these parts, we're most likely to see an abundance of dragonflies. Some are incredibly bright fluorescent blue, and if a dumb one flies into you, they'll give you quite a scare as they thud into your skin. But don't worry, dragonflies do not bite and they are not venomous. This valley is an amazingly productive and diverse habitat. It includes large areas of old-growth cedars and hemlock forest, including a variety of bats and rare lichens. Mountain caribou, wolverine, and grizzly bears also exist throughout the area. All this underscores the importance of the wetlands in Glacier National Park. Preserving them is an ongoing battle fought by Parks Canada and environmental activists. Human use, the highway, the railway, invasive species, and logging outside the park's boundaries all impact these sensitive wetlands. across the valley, we can see the 2% grade of the railway tracks running through this area. And though that slope seems really not all that steep, it caused quite a problem for heavy freight trains. Major Rogers surveyed a line along this slope that brought him through today's Rogers Pass. I know I've spoken a lot about Major Rogers and the effort and challenge of getting the railroad through these mountains. The work of Rogers, Palliser, Hector, and others that we have and will hear more about is just as important today as it was then, back in the mid-1800s. Now that we're getting into big mountain territory, it's hard not to be awestruck by size and presence of each new mountain view that we catch. What is a beautiful sight for us must have been a nightmare for those early surveyors. The next mountain pass that we'll climb is the famous Kicking Horse Pass, and we'll be there in a little over an hour if we're not going to stop. But I'll suggest some great places to see before we get there. The Kicking Horse Pass is the highest elevation pass on the entire Trans-Canada Highway, and offered a whole new set of challenges for the railway engineers first trying to cross the Rocky Mountains. Between here and there, we'll also pass through the last sizable town within British Columbia, the town of Golden. I can't remember where we started today, but if we have come from Kamloops or the lake areas of the Okanagan, just think of how dramatic the change of landscape has been.
Speeding up.
It's incredible. National Park also signals our move into a new time zone. We're now in the Mountain Standard Time Zone. That means we need to set our clocks forward by 1 hour.
What the fuck is he wanting to? Should I let him pass? Yeah. Letting no? Okay. Alright, go. I'm letting you. Yes. You said electric, eh? Okay.
Oh, he's to the flame, bloody tag.
As a proud Canadian, it's time for me to boast a little that system of time zones is a Canadian invention. A man named Sanford Fleming was an engineer with the CPR, but his title now includes the term the father of standard time. Sounds impressive, eh? Okay, I'll admit, he was born in Scotland, but we're going to claim him as he spent his entire adult life in Canada. Railroads run on timetables. If you want to catch a train, you have to be at the station at the right time. Well, this obviously annoyed Sanford Fleming when he would sometimes miss a train. The way things used to work was that each town had its own time, usually when the sun was directly overhead. It meant it was noon at that place. Then, it was usually the town's clock that kept time for the town. But when it's noon right here, that means it's 12:10 in Golden and 11:40 in Kamloops. So, it's like every place had its own time. Back in the 1800s, travelers would sometimes carry different watches to know the time in different places, or reset your watch every time you pulled into a new station. So, if you're trying to run a railroad, obviously this is going to lead to chaos. What seems like common sense now was almost black magic in the 1870s. Fleming took a world map and divided it into 24 zones, each equaling 15 degrees. Within each of those time zones, the time is the same. 24 times 15 degrees is 360 degrees, which is one lap around the globe and one time zone for each of the 24 pieces, or for each of the 24 hours in a day. Let's just say that, like many things, however logical, the resistance was fierce at times. Some people saying that the system was no less than against the will of God. who wanted it to be noon when the sun was directly overhead, wherever that place may be. Thankfully, the logical approach won out. God did not strike down the earth, and the time zone system was adopted on New Year's Day, 1885. Any place where the time zone doesn't follow a straight north-south longitudinal line is only for political or geographical convenience.
Something about this.
Why is it doing that noise, Rod? Because it's going uphill? Rod.
Yeah.
It's big loud. Now we're going downhill. Almost looks like she's got good timing. Yeah. Down the hill. Down the hill we go. Oh, she gave ourselves a nicely slow driver. Coming up ahead, yeah. Thank you.
Abby, please don't eat the books, okay?
Gosh, buddy. 100 down here, not 80.
No, you're eating the books. They're going over there.
As we pass through here, we should catch glimpses of a large water body in the valley heading north. This is the Kinbasket Lake. There's also a big sign for entry to the Kinbasket Lake Resort Campground. It's not a place that I'm going to say we'll need to stop, but I should point it out. The lake being this size resulted from the building of the Mica Dam, which blocked a section of the Columbia River. The lake now stands about 150 kilometers, or 93 miles north, and is named after a Shuswap chief who skillfully guided those early European surveyors through this region in the 1800s. Indigenous people have been living in and using this land for thousands of years. A very long time before any white people turned up. Artifacts as old as 7,000 years have been found in the Upper Columbia Valley, which refers to this region. This area was originally occupied by the Ktunaxa people. The band within the collective nation of Ktunaxa stretched south and east of here, and two of the bands were even located south of what's now the U.S. border.
No.
Though their range of seasonal migration also would take them through the Rockies and into the prairies, usually hunting for buffalo. The significance of the name Kinbasket is that it refers to a band that migrated into this area from closer to the Shuswap Lake region. By all accounts,
Golden, is
the
that a city or a
Ktunaxa
town?
peacefully accepted this migration onto what was their
Like
traditional
the population
lands.
of it, right? Don't know. Ugh, getting closer, 20 minutes away, about that, yeah.
No.
On peut-tu faire le mouton, Briella? Le mouton? Bah. What about a chèvre? Meh. 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 Bah. Meow. 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 Ouf. Ouf. Qu'est-ce qu'un dauphin dit? Qu'est-ce qu'un poisson dit? Blop, 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 blop. Blop, blop, blop.
Oh, that's the fish. I did that one.
The section of the highway that we're driving on is relatively new. The route between Golden and Revelstoke was the last section of the Trans-Canada Highway to be completed, and that was only as late as 1963. Before 1940, there was no car-friendly route to get east of Revelstoke, even though the railway line had been cutting through Rogers Pass for more than 50 years. Partly as a make-work project after the years of the Depression, and of course, because it was well recognized that a continuous national highway was needed, the Big Bend Highway was constructed. The Big Bend refers to the Big Bend in the Columbia River that stretches more than 100 kilometers north of our route today. The Big Bend Highway was conceived to connect Golden and Revelstoke. It took a long 11 years to complete, 5 years longer than planned, and way over budget. It was never paved, the route was slow and plagued with constant challenges from the environment. 20 years after it was completed, it was foregone for a new, faster route that followed the train tracks through Rogers Pass. The new route was unbelievably more practical. It cut 160 kilometers off the length and saved a whopping 7 hours of travel time between Golden and Revelstoke. A section of the Big Bend Highway still exists heading north of Revelstoke, but it goes pretty much nowhere now.
That was a big
The old
bump.
route is no longer continuous as parts of it are underwater thanks to more dam building. On the Golden side, there is still the old highway, unpaved, gravel, and not much more than a forestry road. But it can still be explored until reaching where the road disappears into the dam-formed lake. For me, I'm pretty thankful that we have this one today.
We're almost there, Munchkin. Give it about 20 minutes. 18 minutes, maybe 15. The time is going down a bit. It used to be at 41 and now it's at 36. Peux-tu chanter une chanson, Gabriela? Tu fais les alphabets? Les alphabets?
The open slopes around us give us an idea of how much logging activity there is in this area. You might have noticed how some clear cuts are made to look like avalanche chutes. This helps them look like less of an eyesore, and it has the added benefit of creating usable terrain for heliskiers, backcountry tourers, and snowmobilers. You might have seen the sign for the Quartz Ridge Snowmobile area. This is an excellent area, and one of the closest, top-quality mountain snowmobiling playgrounds to Calgary. Remember, much of the mountain terrain closer to Calgary is protected parkland, where snowmobiling is prohibited. These days, it's a regular thing to see snowmobilers giving skiers and snowboarders a ride up untrekked mountains to ski in fresh powder. It can be a little bit dangerous with avalanche risk, but generally, it is a whole lot of fun and much cheaper than heli skiing.
Yeehaw!
But let me focus on heli skiing for a minute, because this is where the magic all started. Helicopter access skiing, and in the summertime, helicopter access hiking has become big business in this part of British Columbia, with several companies operating in the region. Sometimes there's enough snowfall in these mountains to cover a 3-story apartment building. The deep powder and challenging terrain attracts people from around the world. Canadian Mountain Holidays is the world's first and largest heli ski company.
Yeah.
It operates several lodges in the Columbia Mountains south of Golden. Known as CMH, the company was founded by Hans Moser. Moser was one of many Austrian mountain guides to settle in the rugged terrain of Western Canada. The company began operations from an abandoned logging camp in the Bugaboo Range, about an hour south of Golden. In the spring of 1965, the first 18 heli skiers arrived. The skiing was so good and they enjoyed themselves so much that news of the new adventure sport spread like wildfire. The next season, 70 skiers arrived, and the following winter that number jumped to 170. From its humble beginnings, CMH has grown to include heli skiing and heli hiking in 12 areas that amount to nearly half the size of Switzerland. A variety of other companies also operate lodges for hiking, climbing, and ski touring activities in this region. I mentioned heli hiking. which is developed as the summer equivalent to heli skiing. Not everyone is a good enough skier to enjoy the deep powder experience of heli skiing, but just about anyone can try heli hiking. This is one of those once-in-a-lifetime types of activities for most people. Instead of spending a whole lot of energy walking yourself high into the mountains, and then only having a short time to explore the mountains and high alpine terrain before needing to turn around and hike back down, the helicopter will do the elevation work for you. Not only is the helicopter ride spectacular in itself, but they'll drop you and your group with a guide in a beautiful place, and there's very little chance that you'll see other humans. Then you have the whole day to explore around the area in places very few people get to see. It's difficult to describe the feeling of being so high up in the mountain. In the afternoon, the helicopter will come and pick you up and take you back down to the valley or town. You still need to be reasonably fit, able to go on a 5-hour walk, for example. There are companies like CMH that do overnight and multi-night lodge and hiking adventures, or there are some companies that offer single-day heli hiking that you can usually sign up for a day or two in advance, depending on how busy they are. If you have the opportunity to do it, give it a try. I know that you'll love it.
Grab my phone, please. Thank you.
Your arm is there. We should start giggling. He's like, yeah. Got some action going on there. He's not even going 100. He's going like 97. Really, buddy? Oh, picking up speed, aren't you?
I think he's slowing down.
What are you looking for, Papa?
I think it's one of them.
Oh, just one forward. Oh, is there more construction?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I want to pass this guy. Oh, well. It's not gonna happen. Fudge.
He's been behind him back and forwards for a while now.
Obey all rules. Construction speed zone.
Reduce speed. Wise man ahead. It's a girl, that Gary.
Donald Road ahead. Construction.
There's a lodge. They're building a log fire or something. Oh no, that's just a plant.
Go 80.
Here we go.
At least it's 80 and not 50.
Rodney was driving, didn't really hit any roadblocks.
No, it's like, what the hell?
You had
Yeah.
about 6. That's okay though, hun. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Golden. Ooh, I see the sign Golden running. We're getting closer. Signs are finally popping up. Gosh.
Highway 1.
I can feel the ending of the tunnel, Ronnie. Like getting out and stretching and just. We're gonna think on. Oh, we're gonna check in first and then go get something to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, that trailer is the back. What?
The train. There's not many passenger trains. I've seen a lot of work trains like this, but no passenger trains. Which is sad because it's a beautiful place to take a train, isn't
Right. I don't know what track they use for the V rail, the Via rail, right?
it?
Construction. Ooh, that's interesting. Like these poker streets that look like some type of wheat. Actually, I could see why they're fixing this road because this section here is a little rough. Can't imagine how that one was.
So this would really be this coming this way. That's the road we should be on, really, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they're making the roads higher.
I didn't see a sign saying that construction ended. Oh well. Still 80 down here. What the hell? What? Yeah, that's what I thought. Finally asleep, but no. Sucking your thumb and looking around. Is that what she's doing? End of project. Thank you. There it is. Oh, 10 minutes away. It'll probably like this town smack in the middle of these mountains, Rod. We'll see it once we turn the corner.
Hello. More construction zone.
Yeah. active volcano, eh?
Yeah.
Just how the tip
Yeah.
of it is, but
I don't think they have any volcanoes in Canada, though. I think so.
there is. Yeah.
What?
Is there? Yeah. I thought there was a volcano in Canada, Rod. No? Vancouver? Somewhere's in BC? Can you look it up?
You looked it up. Those were in Northwest Territories.
Yeah, Northwest Territories. There you go. Yeah.
There is a volcano.
Northwestern Territories.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it active?
I don't think so. No. The one in Seattle is the most active one, apparently. But it hasn't gone off in a while. And since what? 1980 was, right? No, that was something else. Yeah. That was another volcano. Mount Rainier. It's freaky. Hello. Hello.
Go down the hill like we do. Yay!
Hands in the air. Yay! Yeah. Yee-hoo. Whoa!
Not attractive, I know, but I should tell you what that dusty plant is on the side of the highway.
Oh, that
It's
one.
the Mountain Minerals Silica Processing Plant, and it produces silica, a hard mineral substance used in the production of glass and ceramics, which is relatively common in the Canadian Rockies. Silica is mined off the slopes of Moberly Peak, hauled down to here where it's ground up to be used in glass manufacturing or to fill the sand hazards on golf courses. As we drive here, we're tracking alongside a section of the Columbia River wetlands. This section of the Columbia River is part of the longest wetland in North America. The wetland, which is 140 kilometers or 87 miles long, is home to the second largest concentration of great blue herrings in Western Canada. 15,000 waterfowl in the autumn and more than 1,000 tundra swans in the spring have been counted in a single day. Bald eagles and osprey are also landed and swoop down to prey on the many fish species. Other species rely on this unique ecosystem as well, including up to 90% of the elk and 70% of the deer population in the region. These animals use the wetland during the winter. The soil deposited by the slow-moving river also make excellent habitat for North America's most northerly population of badgers, now considered endangered. Colorful reptiles and amphibians also use the wetlands, including the rubber boa, brightly colored painted turtles, and the endangered leopard frog. The wetlands are a special place and are vital to the health of the ecosystem. Many locals are passionate about protection of this waterway running from Invermere to here.
World Wildlife Center. Huh.
Now, I'm not sure how good a feeling we have for the geography and map of this area, but here's a little project that's been speculated about for a time. If we turn northeast along here, it would take us into the majestic Blaeberry Valley. From there, the road becomes a dusty Forest Service road that winds its way to the Banff National Park boundary. What's significant about this road is that if it were a few kilometers
Mary's
longer,
Motel.
it could extend to meet the Icefields
going
Parkway, a stunning tourist road
Indoor and
that
outdoor
runs between Lake
pool.
Louise and
Cool.
Jasper.
Mary and
This would
Joseph's
provide a
Motel.
much faster route between British
That was
Columbia
the
and
stable.
central Alberta. It's estimated that it would cut about an hour
You
and a
might find
half
Jesus
driving
there.
time off the trip from Edmonton to Vancouver. That would be a significant time saving for truckers. However, it is extremely unlikely the road will ever be completed. To do that
Oh,
would
excuse
involve
me,
building
better
a
on the
new
window.
road through the middle of Banff National Park, disrupting wildlife and fragile habitat. And it would mean that
Save on
trucks would be
food.
allowed on the Icefields Parkway. Let's hope that never happens.
Avalanche safety solution. Motang. 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 Chemin. 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 Papa. Daddy. Mama. Mama. Nana. Mama. Auto. 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 Toto. Hey, Toto. Yeah. On est dans Toto. Toto. Oh my gosh, buddy.
Could have given us some bloody sign that you're pulling over.
Toto. On est dans un Toto. Un Toto qui va vroom, 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 vroom. Vroom, vroom, beep, beep. Vroom, vroom, beep, beep. Peux-tu dire la couleur vert? Couleur vert. Vert. Bleu. She's like all quiet. Bleu. Bleu. Bleu, 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 bleu. That red Volkswagen hasn't gone very far. That red Volkswagen hasn't gone very far. He's 4 cars down from me. We'll be there in about 3-4 minutes. It's just kidding.
Golden has always been enjoyed as a mecca for mountain adventure enthusiasts, or crazy people, as some of us like to call them.
That crazy.
It is common to see paragliders and hang gliders riding the mountain updrafts on sunny days.
Nice.
An incredible record was set from here. A hang glider once launched from Mount 7 here in Golden and flew along the mountains all the way to Montana. That's about a 4-hour drive from here. With the wild water of the Kicking Horse River close by
Gives
and
me
some
goosebumps.
terrifying downhill mountain biking
That's
trails,
intense.
there are a lot of grown-ups living like kids here, and the skiing is superb. If you have the time, have a look around town. Most people don't even know there is a town. They think that Golden is a strip of gas stations, hotels, and motels on the highway. If we have time, a visit to Kicking Horse Mountain Resort could be on our list. It's just a scenic 8-mile drive above Golden to get to the Kicking Horse Mountain Resort. There's a grizzly bear refuge there that accepts orphaned grizzly bears that might not have anywhere else to go.
Orphan grizzly.
There's also a gondola ride to the top of the mountain, and Canada's highest restaurant is located up there.
Cool.
If you do plan to visit the resort, it is worth a few hours on a day when you can see the mountain tops. I'll tell us where to turn off.
Well, we're going to Golden anyways, but not the resort though, right? Or something we don't know, Rod. Don't text and drive. Got it.
In 700 meters, turn right onto 14th Street North.
This is Golden's version of the Strip.
Gotta slow down.
Along here are gas stations, hotels and motels, restaurants, and fast food places.
In 300 meters, turn right onto 14th Street North. Turn right onto 14th
Is it this
Street
one here?
North.
Yeah.
14th Street North. Yep. Okay.
The destination is on your left.
Is it called Swiss Village Inn? Oh, right there.
You have arrived at your destination.
On the left.
Your route guidance is finished.
What are you doing, buddy? Is there a plug-in? Oh, there is. Can I just plug here?
Yeah.
Or just go in the
There's
front,
the
right?
plug in here.
Just go in the front. I'll plug it in here, but there you go. Yay. You did that on purpose, obviously, but
No, I did not.
I'm in an angle anyways. I'll straighten out once you get out, but is this the place? Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is the place. Rodney will check.
Yeah, I'll just straighten the car out. Oh. Yeah, I'll just straighten the car out, Mom. Mom, I want to straighten the car out. Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Sorry. I know, I just... both fucked up. What's this jittering chatterbox going on there? Oh my god. Woo!
There you go. Don't want that one?
It's going in there because I want to use toothbrush.
Okay, we're going now. Look.
Where are we going?
It shows that you
Here.
dumped the car. It shows that you dumped the car seat, Ronnie. I see like crackers and Cheerios everywhere, but that's too funny. I was like, how did that get there? Like they must have. They must have had another kid there, right?
The
But no.
turtle.
Oh, it was.
Once upon a time. There was a little boy who had a turtle. And they
Did you find a
went
place?
No, I didn't look for a
for
place.
dinner.
Oh, we'll just drive down and see what we have.
And they ate a lot of dinner.
Mendoza's mentioned. Want me to look quickly?
And then the turtle
My
said,
phone's in the car. I don't
I
even know
want
if
to
I
go to bed now. I'm very tired. But I think I'll have one more snack. And then his friend came and said, I think I'll join you. And so they ate. And they ate. And then they went to bed.
Yeah, they have a few.
That's fine.
They have the Wolf Den, rustic bar, Canadian eatery in a cabin. They have island restaurants, fire pit barbecue smokehouse, fire pit barbecue house, smokehouse. What are the reviews on this? They have two cash signs. Top rated.
Mexican, yeah. What's that place?
Bluebird Cafe closed. Okay. Burgers. They're all burger joints.
Where's the city of gold? Like
What?
like where is Golden? Like where's Main Street? Oh, okay, I see. Never mind.
The guy said it was 20 minutes. Remember we talked to him on the...
Oh, that was a grocery store he's talking about.
Well, there's no grocery stores around here, so...
Well, the Bear's Den Burger Bar had almost 5 stars. The Bluebird Cafe has almost 5 stars, but it's closed. They have the Island Restaurant. It has 4.2 stars. Indian Kitchen, White's Tooth Bistro. They have a few actually, God. Shit. Are we going back into town?
Well, where else are we gonna go?
Well, I thought that was a town.
No.
The guy says it seems like it's just one street with a bunch of gas bars. No. Okay. Oh, I'm so hungry. I have like a headache. Oh yeah, over there. What do you want, Mom? Tell me what you want. Okay. Instead of struggling.
I was choking, I couldn't tell you.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry, Mom.
There's the grocery stores, I guess he was talking about.
IGA right there, yeah, 2-minute drive. Yeah. There's the Mary's Motel. Down that way. Dream Catcher. What do you guys feel like anyways?
Whatever we can guess by the looks of it.
They have some in here. It's most like burger joints and stuff like that.
Okay, it's coming.
What would you feel like by?
I don't know.
Burger Bar, Island Restaurant. What is it about? What is it? That's like a burger joint. Fish. Ooh, that one. Ooh. But these ones, it looks kind of interesting. Buffalo meat steak. The Corner Restaurant. That one didn't have any reviews. Save on Foods here too. Jesus. Nagomi Sushi closed. The River House. The chicken hamburger is very good and a decent price. The Taps Pub. Turning Point Restaurant. 1122. Where are all these restaurants we're talking about, right? I feel like there's a few, eh? Do you want me to just punch in one?
Just pick one, yeah.
Trans-Canada Highway, 1202 Trans-Canada Highway. Okay.
There was a few places by our hotel, hon. Like there was a diner, something, A&W. There was another fast joint too. Forgotten now what it was.
Oh, thanks. Okay, where are we? Okay, well, I want the address. Thank you very much. How can I say the address? But 1202 Trans-Canada Highway.
Okay, how do I get there?
Well, I'm trying to get the direction. Okay, drive. Google.ca would like to use your current location. Okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Our location. Oh, fuck. Directions. Okay, your location. Yes. It's a 5-minute drive. Okay. No thanks. Navigate. It wants to use a freaking Google Maps, Rod. That's another one too that had good reviews. We could use that one. There you go. Perfect. Thanks, bud. I didn't understand. You kept using. I know you didn't want to use Google Maps, right?
Alright, let's go.
I love Douglas Park.
Yeah.
You can even eat upstairs if you want.
I can't do it. I can't do it. Your mom will have to actually.
Okay, Mom.
Let's see. Okay, now. Let's see.
Let me tighten it up first, and then we'll do it. Yeah. Munchkin. Okay.
What am I looking for?
This silver thing.
Take my finger then and show me.
Push.
Oh, push it down. Okay.
Push it down, and then you. Yeah.
Oh, and then it releases that.
Yeah.
Okay, Livy, I think I've got it now.
Okay. There we go.
Ow!
Oh,
Owie, owie, owie.
don't forget we need to get some milk, Rod, right?
Yeah.
You farted, so that's what I smelled.
Whoopee.
No, she had a fart. When she was forcing, trying to get out of my arch, like blowing toots.
You trying to squeeze, like, to get out? Isn't that a Nero? Looks pretty fucking close. Holy shit, it isn't.
That's a Chevy.
It's an Elantra. No, right there, there's an Elantra.
The Chevy.
Right beside it is a car that looks exactly like a Nero.
The Hyundai?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a car. I swear. What were you doing? What?
Trying to look just for their way to come around, but
Oh, I see. Let that go. 15-minute podcast. We're talking now. All right, won't be able to all the way to the boat.
No, we're not getting out. The mum's going for milk. Milk. Yeah.
Oh, I see now. I thought it was a car.
Go mink. Go for mink.
We get you some milk. Getting some milk. She's like, no, she knows because it would be bedtime. Yeah.
Well, that's okay. We'll have a little play before you go to bed, eh? Tiddly winky, inky dinky, inky dinky doo. I love you. I love you in the morning and I love you in the night. I love you in the evening 'cause we cuddle each other tight. So tiddly winky, inky dinky, inky dinky doo. I love you. Boop boop be doo. Now you sing another song. Sing me a song now.
The daylight savings. You asked the guy at the counter.
we're still on mountain time. That's why the IGA is closed.
Yeah, okay. When does it turn into the other time?
I thought it was Alberta, but I guess not.
We're in BC still.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're on
Oh,
mountain. They're on Alberta time, not BC time.
there's a bee that came in the guy's car.
But I mean, it's obviously it's not called Alberta time and BC time. It's called Mountain and Pacific time.
Mountain and Pacific. Yeah, and that's why I asked you. Is it on Pacific or Mountain time? And you just said you didn't understand what I was talking about.
We're on the mountain.
We're on Mountain. But when do they say once it turns into Pacific?
Fields. No, it turned into mountain already.
Oh,
It turns
so
into
we're-
BC. It turns into Alberta at Fields.
Oh, fields. Oh, I see. Okay. So Alberta's different. the change in the back rod. Gosh, because I forgot you were in it.
You want anything, Mom?
Oh.
Just give me a moment, please.
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you want anything, Mom?
What are you getting, hon?
I'm gonna have an ice cream.
Well, just get me an ice cream cone then, love.
There'll be 3 cones then.
I'm gonna get a Score Blizzard.
What else do they have with this?
Sorry, boy, what can I get for you?
Hi, can I have 2 cones and a Score Flurry, please?
Do they have Reese's?
Next time,
No.
No.
Regular.
What do they have for?
anything else for you?
Okay, which? Hold on 1 second. Do you want something else?
What blizzards do they have? What
Same ones they've always had. Score, Smarties, Oreo,
I know they added a new flavor.
Score.
It was a Score?
Yes.
I thought Reese's was another one.
No.
No? Okay. Just a cone then.
Yeah. 2 cones and a regular Score Flurry, please.
I don't like it when you do that.
Well, I don't like being told one thing and then you changing
Well,
your mind after it's been
There's no
done.
menu there, Rod, so if she'd have seen the menu, you could have just said what to the girl.
Whatever, fuck. Can't change my mind. You change your mind all the time, no?
They're used to that anyway at this place.
No, I'm just
Look at
frustrated.
the mountain up
I'm
there,
sorry if I
Jay.
changed my mind last minute, okay?
See the mountain up there with the cloud over it? Doesn't it look lovely?
Yeah.
Mhm.
It looks like a movie.
I'm sorry, okay? You're right.
Thank
It was just you told me a cone, I ordered a cone, and I put the order for the cone in, and then she's like, okay, is that everything? Wait, what else can I get? It was just...
No, I didn't say what else.
It was,
Like,
that's how it came across. I know that's not what you said, and I apologize. I shouldn't have snapped at you.
thank you, but... How much is it gonna be?
I don't know.
Oh, I have a 10 and a 2. All in here. Oh, this thing is a magnet, but... Dear, I'll text Wes.
My blankie. And there's blankie. Happy's blankie. Mario blankie. Happy's. Happy's blankie. Nana's blankie. valuables in the car, right? The boots are fine.
Oh yeah, the books are fine. That's your phone. Okay, phone.
Must be a kind of high criminal load. Here.
What's that?
Try and do this myself. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't because I've only got one hand this time. I found the button that can do it. I found the button, but I've only got one hand.
Yeah. Want your Fitbit, butt?
I found the button.
Want your Fitbit?
Oh, sorry.
Hey.